Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, and thank you. Thank you for signing up to learn about our year-end tax strategies and ways to minimize your taxes today and for the long term. We're really excited about today's presentation, and we believe everyone will come away with some new ideas. What you're about to hear, it represents the best and brightest thinking from our team, and it's the collective wisdom of over 100 years experience. I'm Kurt LaLomia from Turning Point Financial. A little housekeeping before we get started. I like to be up front, tell everyone what's going to happen here so there's no surprises. We have three basic parts to the presentation. First, we'll take you through various tax strategies and potential ways to lower taxes. Second, we'll show how this might personally affect you. There's many factors that must be considered. And we'll have time for Q&A at the end. Please use the chat box at any time with your questions. We want to help you to understand that there are actions that you can take today that can have an impact on your life and lifestyle in the future. Everyone will be muted while my video's on. Yours doesn't need to be. Two things not happening today. One, we're not here to sell you anything. This is an educational forum. And two, we can't provide personal financial advice in a group setting like this. Not to worry, because of that, your participation today, it entitles you to a free consult with me. All you have to do to set that up is send me an email. I'll have more on that later on. My company, Turning Point, we are what's known as an RIA. That stands for Registered Investment Advisor. We're supervised by the SEC. Our home office is in Frederick, Maryland, and we work with federal employees and clients from most agencies across the entire country. Nice picture of the team, slightly outdated. We've hired 4 new people this year. That's our owner, Kathy, that's holding the sign there in the center. I'm behind her. We're fiduciaries. That means we put your best interests first. And we get asked this a lot because it's important. If you're looking for an advisor, this is a good question to ask because not every advisor out there is a fiduciary and held to the fiduciary standard. Our website, tpfinancial.com, you can learn more about the team and our services there. I'll have that on a later slide. This is what we'll be covering today. And, taxes are not a fun-filled topic, and we'll do our best to keep you engaged with some real-life stories of families that we've worked with. Here, this is a side benefit to today's presentation. While our focus is on things to handle before the end of the year to lower your tax bill, these are some things that will come across loud and clear in the presentation. Lowering our taxes this year is important, but you'll also learn some ways to lower that long-term tax bill. And by that, we mean the taxes that we all have to pay over our entire working careers. The obvious answer here is you'll pay more in taxes without a long-term tax strategy. Perhaps not this year or next, but it's likely it'll cost you a lot more over the long term. There are little things you can do today, this year, and beyond to lower your long-term tax bill. Participating in the Roth is just one example, and I'll show you some ways and share some stories. I'd like everyone to think outside the box here for a sec, and not just what your family earns in a year and the taxes owed in that year, but think about the total of all those taxes paid during your entire working career. It's scary because it's hundreds of thousands of dollars and maybe more. What if you could chip away at it, put some dents in it, and lower that big tax bill by $50,000, $100,000, $200,000, and have that for your fun retirement money? Getting advice from a financial planner or a tax advisor can and does save the kind of money I refer to. I see it all the time. But for it to work and to maximize the impact, it needs to be done well ahead of retirement. You simply cannot start on this sort of thing too early. For most people, if you do nothing and keep doing what most of us are doing today, you're going to end up with what we call the government plan, which is paying taxes for the rest of your life at whatever rates they tell you. You have a choice. You can make your own plan by acting today and actually creating tax-free sources of income. A Roth is just one way to do this. That can be Roth TSP, Roth 401k, or Roth IRA, to name a few. The choice is yours. You can take their plan and adapt as tax laws change, or you can make your own plan. If you're making your own plan, I suggest working with someone who knows what they're doing. Long-term tax planning involves understanding all your sources of income during retirement, pension, Social Security, RMD. That stands for required minimum distributions, and we're going to talk quite a bit about that today. Other sources of income during retirement, there's the Roth. Some people choose to work part-time. Some folks have rental properties. There's rental income. Maybe you have a spouse or partner that's continuing to work. There's their income. Those are all your sources of income. A portion of each of these, it's taxable, and the impact it has is something that you need to know. It can be complicated. We all agree it's okay to pay our fair share, but no one wants to leave the IRS a tip. Creating a financial plan early on and getting in front of the tax obligation, that's one way to make your own plan. Roths remove the uncertainty of future tax rates because Roths are funded with after-tax dollars. We want to put things on autopilot. We want to have money come out of your paycheck each pay period automatically. Most of you are doing that now with the TSP. Automating means allocating money to not only the TSP on a regular basis, but other accounts like an FSA, an HSA, a 529 college savings program. If you're in the private sector, 401k, 403b. FSA, flexible spending account used for medical and dependent care. HSA is for medical. Contributions to all these accounts, they can lower your current taxable income. A little more on the HSA, again, health savings account, if you have one of those. Build that up, and you can use that in retirement to pay for a variety of medical expenses. Think of it as a Roth IRA for medical expenses, only it's triple tax-free. It's a no-brainer. Money goes in pre-tax, grows tax-free, comes out tax-free, as long as it's used for medical. It gets even better. The money can be invested. So if you're young, an HSA is probably the absolute best thing you could do. I do need to mention, to have an HSA, you have to be in a high deductible medical plan. So some of you may have those, some of you may not, some of you might consider those in the future. Having different types of accounts offer different strategies. If you have options to take money from accounts that offer different tax rates, you're truly in your own plan and not the government plan. And that's where we should all strive to be. The types of accounts I'm referring to are Roth and traditional IRAs, different types of investment accounts, 529, HSA, FSA, and bank accounts. I've been a do-it-yourselfer off and on over the years, so I get it. Since Turning Point created its tax department nearly 2 years ago, I'm continually amazed at how our CPA constantly finds mistakes in tax returns. And it's not just do-it-yourselfers, but professional tax preparers are making mistakes. TurboTax, in my opinion, or any other software, it can be manipulated. It works with what you tell it, and it's not proactive. It cannot do the type of tax planning we're talking about. I'm not trying to sell you on our tax services, but just open your eyes to things we encounter all the time. Working with someone you can trust, someone who proactively gives you advice, that's where we all should be. When we're doing financial planning for our clients, I'm constantly pushing for ideas and recommendations from the tax department to improve a family's financial situation and address that massive long-term tax bill. Hang with me on this a sec. If an individual makes $100,000 and pays $25,000 a year in taxes, over a 30-year career, that's $750,000 in taxes. What if we could reduce that to $650,000 or $600,000? That's serious money saved that could be invested along the way to provide for perhaps an earlier retirement or certainly a more comfortable retirement. Audits and red flags, well, everyone should know the IRS never calls. It notifies by mail. I'd say get help if you don't understand your audit. Red flags, those are unique to each family. Now, one of our clients, they were making major mistakes in their tax life, and that was despite having taxes done by somebody else. As I said before, mistakes are common, and unsolicited advice from tax preparers is uncommon. Always ask your tax preparer for ideas and suggestions. Many are simply not forthcoming. Some examples of what we uncovered with this client: they weren't taking advantage of deductions for medical expenses, including mileage. This client has 3 kids. They were doing a nice job of saving for college, but they were missing out on their state's generous deduction. Happened to be New York State, which provides a $10,000 tax benefit with its college savings programs. The client had a Roth, but they weren't utilizing it fully. We suggested setting up another for their spouse and making annual contributions. The family also has someone considered special needs, and it didn't have an ABLE account, thereby missing out on its tax benefits. Lastly, the long-term tax strategy that we recommended, which includes Roth conversions, that will save our clients several $100,000 in our estimation over their entire lifetime tax bill. I point all this out because I believe each of us needs to take a very close look at our personal circumstances. The question to ask is, am I overpaying the IRS? Hang with me, folks. I know this is a lot. It's worthwhile. A Roth is one way to incorporate a strategy to manage the uncertainty of what future taxes might look like. Everyone on the call today should have some of their retirement plan invested in its Roth portion. The TSP has that. If you're 401k, 403b, you need to check. Not all of those have that. If you don't have that option, you might consider a Roth IRA. And by the way, everyone can participate regardless of your income. If you believe, or if you've been told that you make too much to have a Roth, you're misinformed. A little used strategy called the backdoor Roth that allows high wage earners to have Roth IRAs. Let me know if you need help with that. I just want to pause here for a second and make sure everyone is understanding this. What we're suggesting is a Roth IRA, which you would do on your own or with someone like me, or participation through the TSP or your 401k, 403b, if you have that option. Again, TSP has it. Some people do both, and if you can do both, that's wonderful. The Roth, as I said before, that's funded with money that's already taxed, and it grows completely tax-free. It then comes out tax-free. When you need money in the future, you can use the Roth without having to pay extra taxes. Think about it. If the tax rate is higher in the future, you'll be in a great position if you have access to tax-free money. That's the Roth. And anyone with a 401k, 403b, TSP, you need a tax solution. And taking advantage of today's tax rates on sale is the way to be thinking about Roths. Roth conversions, that's something I do every year as part of my long-term tax strategy because it allows me to lock in today's low tax rates. You're paying taxes once and never again. Having a Roth, it removes the uncertainty of future tax rates. Best of all, they're invisible on your tax return in retirement. The Roth conversion, it's simply converting or moving money from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA, paying taxes on the converted amount. The taxes are paid when you file. This graph here, it shows the power of the Roth. That blue line, you can see how much more valuable a Roth and Roth conversion is compared to a traditional IRA. Our example here, about $100,000 more over time. If you or your spouse or partner have old 401ks, 403bs, or IRAs, you can use them to jumpstart a Roth. Just to repeat, it involves paying taxes now in exchange for not having to pay tax on distributions later, like during retirement. What do you estimate the future tax on your RMDs if you don't convert? Again, RMD stands for required minimum distribution. I convert a small amount every year because the tax bill on converting the entire thing, it's too much. That's my plan. I want my plan, not the government plan. The government plan is RMDs. RMDs, those required minimum distributions, they start when you're age 72, and they're for any traditional retirement plan. That's your TSP, your traditional IRA, 401k, 403b. That's the government telling you how much you need to take out of those accounts each year. There's a formula. Doesn't matter whether you need the money or not, you have to take it. We call this the government plan because it forces you to take a certain amount each year. This is how taxes are collected. Those RMDs are collected. Sorry, those RMDs are taxed. Roths, they never have RMDs because we paid the taxes up front. I work for a financial planning firm. That's Turning Point's bread and butter. So I'm admittedly biased. And here are some of the things that come up when we do plans for families. If you don't have a plan, you only have a wish and no roadmap to achieve that wish, that goal, that dream, whatever. You may still get there, but it'll likely take a lot longer and be a lot more frustrating. A recent planning client of ours, they had a dream of retiring early, and they had been a good saver and investor their entire career. But they had too many accounts. They didn't know how their money was allocated. They weren't taking advantage of college savings plans that offered tax benefits. They had too much money in savings accounts that it wasn't working for them. They weren't earning anything. There was no Roth participation, and there was no long-term tax strategy. With our advice, solid direction, accountability, this client, they'll get to do everything that they want. And in the process, they're going to realize nearly $1 million in savings with the strategies we recommended. Had the client waited until they were on the cusp of retirement to have a financial plan done, the cost of waiting, well over $1 million. Now, obviously, not everyone can reap savings this large because each of our circumstances is unique, but savings of some sort, it's possible for everyone. You won't know if you're ready to retire without knowing what you'll need in this new phase of your life. It's never too early to start planning, and to do it right, you need to dig into the details. Our process, it gives you clarity. You'll really know what to expect, and you get to see how everything works together. What you make, what you spend, what you have, and what you need. Taxes are often ignored, but can make a huge difference to your bottom line, as we've shown. Here are your action items. And by the way, these slides are available upon request. We're also recording this presentation. Send me an email if you'd like copies. Happy to share. First one, we've covered what happens when you don't have a long-term tax plan. Automate, just get started at any amount. Getting started is more important than how much it is. What we're talking about here is the TSP, the 529s, HSA, FSA, IRAs. Automate money going into them. My story, when my girls were born, they're in college now. My wife and I started making 529 contributions. We started at the minimum, 15, 20 bucks a month, and increased it over time by a few bucks, percentage, whatever. And all of a sudden, you're contributing a lot more. It's growing, and you have a nice sum when they're ready for college. It worked out for us. So just get started. Automate, just get started at any amount. Bump it up when you can. Next, talk to someone about making sure you have the right accounts set up to manage taxes in a way that's most efficient for your circumstances. Do your financial plan and tax plan, do they complement each other? What does that mean? Well, are your CPA and CFP talking to one another about strategy, about taxes, goals, and trying to be efficient? CPA, certified public accountant, CFP, certified financial planner. One of the things I love about where I work is we do all that under one roof. It's completely integrated. Make your Roth contributions in any and every way you can. Now, it's on President Biden's chopping block. The Roth advantages and benefits, they may not be available to us in the near future. Number 6 kind of speaks for itself. Ignore the noise. There's a lot being bantered about right now with new tax proposals. Try not to get too caught up into that because it's nowhere near final. The biggest mistake we see people make, it's not asking for help when they really need it. Fortunately, you have resources. Several federal agencies, they've asked me to be a resource to you. Please contact me if you need help, have questions about anything we discussed here today. We're going to get to Q&A here in a few minutes. Go ahead and put your questions in the Q&A field, or if you prefer, you're welcome to send me an email. My email address is here on the screen. Again, the firm website address, tpfinancial.com. You can learn more about us there. Early on, I mentioned the free consult, so I can only go so far with answering your questions. I'll certainly do my very best, but they may be more appropriately answered one-on-one if you're interested in a free meeting where we can talk about this stuff more or anything else in your financial life that may be bothering you or of a concern. Just shoot me an email. We'll get something scheduled, no cost, no obligation. So let's get to some Q&A. I'll give you all a couple of minutes to type those out. Appreciate everybody being here today. If you have a question, go ahead and pop that in our chat field, please. If you prefer to email me, that's okay too. If you'd like a copy of the recording or a copy of the slides or both, shoot me an email. Happy to help. Someone's asking a question about finding a financial advisor. How do I go about finding a financial advisor? Well, this is a great first step. Attending events like this, checking people out. That's one way. And I know I'm not the only one who does these sort of webinars. You want to find someone you like, someone you trust, and someone who offers the services that can satisfy your needs. We're not a fit for everyone. If you want stock market sizzle and Bitcoin and gold, Turning Point, that's not what we do. That's not what we're good at. Ask friends and family who they use. Get a recommendation from them. If you're fee sensitive, people are usually ask me about fees. How do we charge? It depends on what you need. Every circumstance is unique. We're a fee-only planner. We don't charge commissions, or we don't have trading costs, annual maintenance fees, those sort of things. It depends upon what you need. If you're fee sensitive and you make most of your decisions based upon lowest cost, I'll tell you exactly where to go, and that's Vanguard. Vanguard is the lowest cost provider in the industry. They do a great job, wonderful website. But in our recent experience, we've learned that they have long hold times. When you call in there for help, you might be on the hold for an hour. You might have to call several times to get through to them. So it's a bit of a trade-off with service. Hope that helps. Somebody's asking about 529s, how to start, taxes, benefits, and concerns. So 529s are state-run programs. Maryland's is run by T. Rowe Price. Virginia's is run by the American Funds. Both are terrific outfits. You can set up the 529 on your own. Just Google 529 for your state. Each state has a website. They're usually pretty user-friendly. Everything's done online. I think you can call in and get help there. There's usually a wonderful Q&A section where they'll talk about the minimums, what you need to get started. That's generally, your name, your child's name, your dates of birth, both of your social security numbers, address. So you can do it completely online on your own. You're investing in what they offer. So there's limitations. You're investing in the T. Rowe Price funds or the American funds. Both are pretty good. If you're interested in stocks or something more aggressive, then 529 is not going to work for you. 529s almost always involve mutual funds. Maryland offers a $2,500 state tax deduction. Virginia offers $4,000. Each state is different. All the rules and all of that is disclosed on their website. Some states, like Pennsylvania, doesn't offer a tax benefit. So it varies. 529, it doesn't have to be used in your state. It can be used in any state. It can be used at a trade school. If your child is interested in becoming a baker or a plumber or an electrician, the money can be used there. Other family members can use the money. So if your kid doesn't go on to higher education, it can be used within the family. Let me know if you'd like more details on that. Feel free to shoot me an email. Someone's asking about a lump sum catch-up contribution directly to the Roth TSP. Excellent question, and I'm afraid I don't know the answer to that. I would contact TSP directly. I don't know anybody that's done that. That's a great idea, especially we're at year end. And if you want to max out, it's a catch-up contribution for those not familiar with it. If you're age 50 and above, you can contribute an additional $6,500 this year. That's a federal limit that is adjusted every so often. So the question is, can you make a lump sum, a $6,500 contribution directly to the Roth TSP? You got to ask them. And I will look that up myself. Or if you'd like me to look it up and find out for you, shoot me an email. But thank you for that. Good question. So we budgeted for 30 minutes. We're right at that now. I'm happy to stay on as long as you would like. I usually take these as long as an hour sometimes if folks are interested. Again, if you have a question, please pop that in the chat or the Q&A. Someone's asking, does your firm deal at all with high cash value life insurance policies as part of tax planning or another way to supplement investments? Yes, we do. So that's another way to create a tax-free source of income in retirement, is with an insurance policy. Good question. Happy to help you out with that. Shoot me an email. We can take it further. Another question, is it too late to start a 529 after a child starts college? Not really. I think it depends on your circumstances. You can capture the tax benefit, that's for sure. Your growth is limited. You want to be smart with how you invest the funds. You know, there's everything from conservative to aggressive, different types of 529s. But I think I'd still do it to capture the tax benefit. Best place to go for advice about Medicare. So we work with a firm called Boomer Benefits. I believe they're based in Texas. I would Google them. Google Boomer Benefits in Texas. Great customer service. They know us. If you have trouble with that, shoot me an email and I can help you out with that. Good questions, folks. I appreciate it. We're going to have more events, 2 more events later this year. Next month, in November, we've got a really unique presentation around special needs planning. If you or anyone you know has a special needs family member, I'm going to have an expert presenting on resources and benefits available to special needs children. Those that have physical and intellectual disabilities, the government benefits that are available at the state and federal level, resources in local areas. My expert has lived the life. He has a son with an intellectual disability, so keep an eye out for that. That's coming your way if that applies to you or someone you know. And by the way, someone doesn't have to be a federal government employee or an FCC employee to participate in these. These are open to anyone. I'm happy to share the recordings with that as well. In December, we're going to get into something called morally responsible investing. Some of you might be familiar with the ESG movement, social responsibility investment. ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. There's a movement in the industry and around the world around aligning your values with your investments, investing with your heart. Examples of that are people who have a passion and a purpose. They might be interested in clean water around the world. Well, you can invest in companies that promote that. Some folks have an aversion to tobacco, firearms, fossil fuels, pornography. There are portfolios that screen those companies out. People don't want to be profiting from companies involved in those type of investments. So we're going to have an educational webinar in December around morally responsible investing. That's coming your way. And if you have any ideas or suggestions, we have a library of materials. A lot of those we have available as a recording, but we're always looking to create new content. Shoot me an email if there's something you'd like to learn about that I haven't presented or that you're not getting from some of the other advisors out there. We don't seem to have any more questions. I want to be mindful of your time. If you have a question, quickly type that in and be happy to help. Otherwise, shoot me an email and look forward to seeing you all again. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, be healthy. And again, thanks for your attendance today. I really appreciate it.